Yeah. I think in the eyes of Israel right now, the problems are growing. And as they see Erdogan, Turkey on one side and Iran on the other side, the acts of resistance, the Shia Muslim, and then you see the Sunni, they call it Muslim Brotherhood, they're against them. And Netanyahu yesterday said that the problem with Turkey is Erdogan. Erdogan is the bad actor, and the people in Turkey are great, they're doing this and that. But I have a
Really?
bad news
But
for
it's
him.
always the
And
same.
90, more than 97% of people in Turkey are against Israel.
You're against Israel. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's somehow arguing that the problem with Turkey is Erdogan. But I think the whole problem between Israel and Turkey is because mainly is because of the situation in Syria. Today
So
we had Macron going to Syria,
Macron,
two
exactly.
explosions in Syria.
Exactly.
They're trying to somehow show Syria is not safe. Nobody
Yes.
can come here. This is a pariah state, and nobody's gonna, it's all about, continuing with this sort of chaos in Syria, not letting Syria to stabilize. Not
Exactly.
This is the main agenda on the part of Israelis, and nobody can go there. Nobody can negotiate with them because we have to understand that these people in Syria, they said that we don't want to fight Hezbollah. If it takes, we're going to talk with them. We're going to make some sort of mutual understanding between Syria and then you see the role of Turkey in Syria and the way that they're trying to force Israel out of Syria because
Mhm.
after all, Israel is occupying the southern part of Syria. How do you
True.
see that front, Pepe?
Wow. Yes, I would say that these explosions were a false flag. There's practically no question about that. Especially when you have, okay, Le Petit Roi, he may be an total imbecile, but it's the leader of a NATO country and a powerful European nation on Syrian soil for the first time since the Assad era. So basically, this is the message from the spoilers. Look, you're coming here, it's a mess, and it will continue to be a mess. Well, it is a mess in many aspects because the guy who's actually running Syria, or we don't really know if he really runs Syria, is a former Al Qaeda ISIS head chopper, totally normalized by NATO, by the US, and by the collective West. This is already a horrible start for a new Syria. But at least there is a government. We don't know if it's working or not. It is a mess. But the only plan that Israel has for Syria is total chaos, is to pit everything against everyone against everyone else in Syria. There's no plan B. That's it. The Americans, they want basically to exploit whatever there is to exploit in Syria. Not much. Steal some more oil like they were doing before. That's it, right? So that's very complicated. And Turkey's plan is straightforward. We need to expel Israel from southern Syria. How they're going to do that is another story. And if they're going to do that, they're going to have this current government in Damascus on their side. We don't know which side they are, even though they are a Turkish creation. So once again, it's everywhere you look, you see 3, 4, 5, 6 different complicating factors, right? And of course, at least there is something apparently straightforward from Damascus. We are not going to intervene in Lebanon to fight against Hezbollah. But Nima, we don't know if this is going to stand. We don't know if they can be bribed to fight Hezbollah. Quite possible. Quite possible. So everything is still up in the air. And it gets more dangerous because now Israel is facing a strategic defeat for all practical purposes in Gaza because they destroyed Gaza, but they didn't destroy Hamas. A strategic defeat in Lebanon because Hezbollah is kicking their asses on an everyday basis. A strategic defeat in Iran because they lost the war. So what next? Cornered animal syndrome. Very, very dangerous. And don't forget, the leader of the death cult is going to visit Trump soon.
Yeah.
He's going to try to play Trump again in a new war. And now it's not going to be Iran, it's going to be Lebanon. And that's why it gets even more dangerous, because if that happens and the guy who basically rigged the World Cup by making FIFA invalidate a red card, this is something that never happened in the history of the world sport by definition. He's capable of everything. He's capable of actually believing the leader of the death cult, and okay, his next stop is going to be Lebanon. And what does that mean? First thing, we don't even have to think about it. The total destruction of the MOU. There won't be any minimal possibility of a memorandum of understanding, of even the discussions after the memorandum of understanding, if that happens. And that's why this is something that we had from yesterday to today. Yesterday, Nima, Larry and I were breaking basically a story on our channel that there is a tentative date already, July 11, this Saturday in Islamabad, for the resumption of talks between an American delegation and an Iranian delegation. Today, Arakshi basically said, no, we're not going anywhere. If they don't respect what they signed at the MOU, all the clauses, all the paragraphs, starting with paragraph number 1, which is the end of the war against Lebanon, there's nothing to discuss. So once again, we are back to stalemate. It's not, it's very distressing. But once again, when we think that there is a glimpse of, okay, these guys are going to sit down and start talking again the next day, but no way. Because essentially, and that's what makes it so hard, the positions are absolutely incompatible. To respect the MOU, the United States has to recognize that they have been strategically defeated. They have no cards on the table to impose on Iran. Nothing. Even if they threat to bomb Iran again, Iran already said, okay, we're waiting. We have our finger on the trigger. And they do. So how are they going to pressure? And when you compound that with the geoeconomic situation, the depletion of the strategic petroleum reserves, the fact that by mid-August, the situation will be untenable, that Strait of Hormuz needs to be open for the global economy, especially. It's not a matter for the Americans. It's for the global economy. So when you add all that, there's absolutely no margin of maneuver for the Trump administration, except what they do: bragging, telling lies over and over again, threatening, I'm going to bomb you, I'm going to exterminate your civilization. Everybody is in this procession, everybody in the same place, we could just shoot them. That kind of really stupid, not even two-year-olds with a brain don't say something like this. But that's it. Because they don't have an off-ramp. The only possible off-ramp implies admitting the strategic defeat. It is to follow the MOU, which they signed. It's not something that came out of the sky. The President of the United States signed a memorandum of understanding at the Versailles Palace, committing the U.S. to follow those 14 points. And that's it. No, we don't want it anymore. We go back to probably the best geopolitical analysis in 3 words of the 21st century by our friend Grandmaster Lavrov. The United States is non-agreement capable. This is our latest example.
Yeah, actually, the fight is happening as we talk in the Strait of Hormuz. At least in the last few hours, we had 3 tankers, oil tankers.
4, Nima. 4.
Yes, 4. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot the last one. and we have 4 of them been hit by IRGC because they're trying to. The United States is trying to use the southern part of the strait, close to Oman. The Omani government, I really feel, they don't know what to do because there's tremendous pressure from the United States.
Let me ask you: do you think the Omanis are playing a double game, Nima?
They know that at the end of the day, what is important is their neighbor, which would be Iran. But their economy could go under tremendous pressure if they get along with Iran. I would say behind the scene, they said to Iranians, "We're with you," but we cannot say that.
We cannot say that out loud.
Yeah, and you do whatever you want to do. But we're going to say, we're going to say to the United States, you can use whatever you want close to our border. But after all, I would say, because they cannot go against the United States, they know the pressure, they know the power of the United States if they try to put pressure on them and their economy. This is the problem with the Omani government, and they're not that much powerful. We have to accept that. And this comes again, the new confrontation between the two sides, Iran and the United States, fighting each other in the Strait of Hormuz. They try to intercept some of these Iranian drones in the Strait of Hormuz. It was reported, the United States. They're trying to use the Navy to protect these tankers passing through the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran is not going to back down. We know that. They're not going. These guys they're so tough, in my opinion, and they're going to learn it as time goes by, and they're not going to back down. That's why I think the war would continue this way. I don't know if the United States is going to attack Iran in the coming hours because of the attacks on these tankers, because that could be the case. Iran is prepared for that, by the way. From what I've heard from Iranians, they're prepared for the attack if something happens, and they know what would be the targets of retaliations on the part of Iran. This is the situation in this Strait of Hormuz. You've mentioned correctly the case of Lebanon. Nothing is happening there in the southern part of Lebanon. The fight is going on. They somehow brought down the level of casualties, the level of people being killed because of something. It's some sort of pause. It's not pause. It's the fight. It's unbelievable. I don't know how there is no word for that to explain that. What is that? It's, as Ambassador Chas Freeman says, it's a ceasefire with Israeli characteristics.
Excellent definition. Yeah, very good. Very good.
This is the reality. The two sides, the fight is going on. There is no MOU, in my opinion.
Because
they're
the
trying to do something, but not that much.
When it comes to Lebanon, the MOU is already completely broken. And this is what Arakshi was saying. And they still don't listen on the other side.
That's why they're not going to have another meeting with Americans. That's the reason, that because if Lebanon is not resolved and the fight is happening in the Strait of Hormuz, because in the MOU in paragraph 5 it specifically says under Iranian they say management or somehow it says that, but you don't see that happening. The United States is still there trying to manipulate the strait, and the war is going on. This is the problem.